Hello there and welcome. My name is Arafat Mohammed and this is a video presentation of recruitment and selection course. And in this video, we are going to look at the issues that rises during recruitment and selection process, and we are going to compare um, the issues in terms of two countries, Malaysia and then China, and afterwards you'll find out what are some of the solutions to these kind of issues that kind of like arise during the recruitment and selection process. So without any further ado, let's get started. But before we can look at the issues, let's try to understand a big picture of what recruitment and selection actually means. So when we talk about recruitment, it is the process of attracting individuals on kind of like timely basis and in sufficient numbers and with an appropriate qualification. So we develop their interest in an organization and then you encourage them to apply. So it's kind of like something between a hiring manager and the HR department. So the hiring manager kind of like submits a completed requisition to the HR department, kind of like we need or we have a vacant space, so we need to fill them up. So from there, the HR department will assign a requisition number to assist in tracking and reporting. And afterwards, the HR department will meet with the hiring manager to discuss the position and determine the most effective recruitment and selection process to kind of like hire these new people. Recruitment and selection sources can include websites, internal posting, online job boards or online job portals. We have social media, which I think is one of the most used now because everyone is on this platform. So it is a platform that most companies can use to acquire or to get what the best talent. Of course, it has its ups and downs. And also, some of the recruitment sources can be on newspapers, advertising, also employee referral, how do you call referrals. So basically, this is the whole picture of what recruitment and selection. So the company have to make sure that they make a job analysis which comprises of the description and then the specification. So these are what we want, which is the description, and these are what we want the person to do, which is where you describe what the person will do in the organization, and then you specify the kind of skills or qualification that this person needs to be able to accomplish this task. So you make it open through various platforms, and then a lot of people or candidate or potential candidates can apply to come and fill this vacant space in your company. So after doing this then proceed toward the selection process. So selection is the process of choosing from a group of applicants, as my lecturer will say, from a pool of candidates, the individual that best suit for a particular position based on conventional or non-conventional methods. But the advertisement or the vacant space you made it known to the world that you want to fill, you will have a lot of people applying. So after they have applied, with the selection process, you have to look through to see who among these candidates best fit the vacant space. Who among these candidates can work for us and make sure that we are able to achieve our aims and objectives. So basically, that's the whole picture of what recruitment and selection is. So since we've understood what recruitment and selection is, let's try to understand recruitment and selection first from the Chinese environment. So from a bit of research that I find out, it happens to be that recruitment and selection in China per se um, is still in an embryonic stage. Of course, they have evolved since some time, but consequently, before the Chinese central government introduced open door policy, I think in around 1978, whereby recruitment and selection were little significant. I mean, an organization at this stage were mostly, I mean, state-owned, and workers were provided with something we call a credit to grave, whereby uh, a welfare coverage that include lifetime employment and guaranteed wage and seniority. So therefore, business organization kind of like had um, how do you call it, little power to carry out human resource management activities itself. Maybe human resource were under the tight control of what, like social state. So the socialist model, which we can say. But however, in the process of transition to a market system, business organization begin to have the autonomy to manage market-oriented models of human resource management model in the marketing. So now authority came or shifted toward businesses themselves, so they themselves can kind of like recruit and select their own candidates, and not just to depend on state or authorities of the country as it was before. So we're going to analyze some of the issues regarding recruitment and selection, and we're not just going to pinpoint more specifically in terms of country, but these things are kind of like common between Malaysia and China, and I think almost more countries, but it depends on the environment also. So the first problem is failure to attract talented candidates. Um, in in this candidate driven market whereby candidates are approached by multiple recruiters, it becomes very difficult for recruiters to attract talented candidates, because top candidates might not be around when recruiters finally decide to extend the offer. And delay in the hiring process is also killing the recruitment process. Reducing hiring period also becomes a very difficult task, as they are juggling around with candidates. At the same time, the follow-up interviews take kind of like a lot of time to set up. So this is one key issue. And in the Chinese environment, what I have found from research is that there are people who are like head hunters. These people, they look around to pinpoint the top talent, and then in this way, for companies to be able to reach to these people, they have to pass through them. They become like mediators between companies and then the employees. So what they do is they give this talent a lavish life, or they give them something that kind of like that these people want, and then in the situation they become part of the organization or agent per se, but they are under them. So before the companies can reach to these people, they have to pass through them, and this has made the issue kind of like challenging for companies who cannot pay double. So in this situation, you are paying for for the person, and you're also paying for the agent. This is a common issue. And from this one also, in the Malaysian processes, whereby candidates they fail to attract talented candidates because of their process of hiring them. They take time to do interview. They take time to know where the candidate, who the candidate, and all of this delaying stuff makes at the end candidates will kind of like switch to other companies, or lose interest in the company. Second is lack of misunderstanding between recruiters and kind of like hiring manager. So lack of communication and understanding between the recruiters and the hiring manager, it can cause a lot of problems in the recruitment process. This is specifically to Malaysia, whereby when the company assign a hiring manager, and then the recruiter who is going to, for example, someone outsourcing someone, you outsource someone to kind of bring candidate to you, the miscommunication between these two parties sometimes end up, and then the process of recruitment will end up not as the company has had wished. So this includes the inability to identify the right skill sets in the prospective candidates, or deciding on the best channels for resourcing the right talent. Moving on is keeping the millennials in the workforce for a longer period of time. The challenge of recruiting in that is that millennials have the tendency to do jobs kind of like hopping, moving from one place to another, and that increases their workload, as they have to search for candidates for the same position more frequently. So of course, companies have to make sure that employees stick around to their companies. But this new graduate and stuff like that, they are looking for the best opportunities. Probably you might give them this opportunity, and then later on they will find out that this one is better than them. In this way, they leave your company and then they move to the other company. You have to also go back to a recruitment process again to go and select another person to come and do the same job again. So it's another issue. And also the inability to use data effectively. Data, we are now in the era of data, which data is more important. Someone said it is the oil of this era. Most of the recruiters today use technology tools to their advantage, but they do not have the ability to effectively use the data that they have acquired. So recruiters fail to employ the data to make better recruitment decisions, and this one enhances their process. So they end up failing in the process, on the recruitment process. Third is discrimination issue. This is kind of like common across the globe, but depend on the community. For example, in China, most of the people are dominated by Chinese. But when we come to Malaysia, it is blended by three races. So if a company is a Chinese-owned company, they try to recruit members from only their races. They will never hire any Malay. They don't want to hire any Indian or yeah. So in this situation, this is one key issue. Next issue is issues with disabled workers. The person is more capable, but then the company will not hire him due to what his appearance. So this is what we call the whole idea of discrimination. You rejecting a candidate or you not offering a candidate a job due to his appearance and not a job related what reasons. And it's common um, among these two countries. In China, it is more of disabled issues. In terms of race or region, also kind of like arises, and religion also arises over there. But Malaysian environment is more related to race. If you are from my race, I employ you to my company. And also, even you can see in jobs description and job specification, like we want a person who is a Malay, or specifically who speak Malay, or specifically who speak Chinese, or Mandarin, or specifically who speak Hindi or Tamil. They are making it so clear and vivid in their job specification. We don't. That means it's trying to tell you that we don't want other races, but we want this one issue also that rises. And the next issue is failure to provide great candidate experience. So recruiters have to end the hiring process properly with what with the candidate. Okay, so one more thing is about the talent shortage in China, which in China problems of recruiting and selection local talent, for instance, are partly driven by short staffing. There are no staff. So in fact, the situation can be traced way back to kind of like the 1980s for a number of reasons. But let's look at this reason. The cause of shortage of staff, it can be traced back to the Cultural Revolution in 1966 to 1976, something like that, as formal universities were largely demeaned, meaning and derogated. So many of the workers learned politics and subsistence farming. As a result, the event of Cultural Revolution, it kind of like wiped out a generation of management potentials, particularly for middle management position and skilled workers. So the talent shortage is also partially attributed to the sharp rise in foreign direct investment inflows that began in the mid 1980s. So besides this talent shortage is due to the fact that many local highly talented employees have found out that have found a trend to immigrate elsewhere, usually to a more prosperous economy in order to seek for what, better opportunities. So when we talk about fierce competition for talent, what we mean is so competition for like local managers is very high and good ones are headhunted away. So it is common to find local managers being lured or being persuaded and recruited by what? Headhunters in China today. A person who has the best qualification or that suit the job and not well known, but the headhunters make sure that they know these people and then they what? They lure them, they persuade them and recruit them away. So if you are an agent or if you are a company and you want an employee, it's hard for you to get this kind of qualified this talent. You understand? Because there are people who have like taken them away. So we have to go through all of this. It's still kind of like saying you don't have the authority by yourself because people have taken all these employees. That's what we mean by the fierce competition for talent. So this sum up the whole issues that rises, and I think I've pinpoint one or two issues from both countries that we are trying to talk about. So now let's look at some of the solutions that can help to solve this rising problem of recruitment and solution. First one is attracting the right candidate. So if you've ever tried to discover the right candidate in a pool of full unqualified talent, so you will know that your options are limited and you will choose the best person you can find at a time, not the best fit for the job. But it's not always about the number of candidates who apply. The best way is to hire the right people. It's often from a small pipeline of more qualified talent. So in this way, you have to be clear about your requirements in your job ads and give a conscious view of the role. You can use an application form with kind of like knockout questions to directly address your key concern. For example, need someone with a clean driving license. So include yes or no, asking candidates if they have one. So it's a fast way to screen out people who aren't right for the job role. Second one is engaging what? Qualified candidates. So good candidates are often contacted regularly by what? Recruiters, making it harder for you to own for your own email to stand out. In addition, candidates with hard to find skills are often considering several job offers at the same time. So you need to put out extra effort into persuading passive candidates to choose your company over what? The competitors. So what you can do is before contacting a passive candidate, research what motivates them and what makes them happy in their job. So with their knowledge, personalize your sourcing emails to describe what you can offer them instead of what they can offer for your companies, because you already know what they can do, but what can you do for them? And when you identify what they need, it is easy to convince them to be part of what your organization. Next is you have to hire fast. Hiring teams want to hire as fast as possible because vacant position cost money and delays operation for you, your business also. So yet depending on your industry, making a hire can take several months, putting pressure on recruiters and frustrating hiring teams. So a long time to hire may be byproduct of a shortage of qualified candidates. So what you have to do is look at your hiring process and ask yourself, are all the hiring stages really required? Are we looking for the right place? Are we looking at the right place for the candidate? Do we communicate quickly or whatever? So after identifying this, you need to cut some process out to speed up the reaction. And when you're able to speed up the chain or the process, you see that you get to acquire the best candidate for your company. Next is you have to build a strong employer brand. You don't want your reputation to be hindered by employee giving bad comments. You want your company to stand out among competitors. So a good employer brand helps you attract and engage better candidates. Organizations that invest in employee branding are 3 times more likely to kind of like to make a quality hire. Yet it is complex. It's a complex process that includes anything from ensuring a position candidate, experience to promoting your culture on social media. It's a continuous collective effort that requires you to step out of your usual duties and secure a buy-in from your co-workers. So always what you have to do is always reply to online reviews, bad and good ones. Give your co-workers the means to tell their story about their work and what they are like and what they like. For example, through blogs or through video. And above all of this, you should be like a good employer, and it would actually show. Last one is recruiting fairly. So what do we mean by recruiting fairly? Many companies struggle to attract and hire desired candidates, as we said before, due to these discrimination issues. So as a company or as an organization, you have make it clear your job analysis. So with this job analysis, make sure that you get the best candidate that fits, but not just any person. depending on race or depending on the job related specification and description. This candidate has this knowledge, skills, and abilities that can help your company. With this way, you implement objective hiring techniques like structured interview questions. Apart from your legal obligation to provide equal opportunities, your hiring objectively is good for business because it helps you hire the best person for the job without stereotype interfering, and this will result in an inclusive workplace, showing potential candidates that you are kind of like a how do you call this one? A meritocracy, and allowing you to benefit from diversity positive effects. I think that's all for this presentation. We've looked at what this recruitment and selection is, and we've tried to understand it from different perspectives, from the Chinese environment and then from the Malaysian environment. And then we found out the issues that arises from this process. So we also came up with some solutions to make sure that companies are able to solve these issues. And I hope with this, we can solve one or two issues regarding the recruitment and selection process. So with this, I would like to end my presentation, and thank you.